There is a model for sadhana that I usually follow, but of course our own individual sadhana needs to be, we need to make it right for us. It needs to be customized. And so, just look at the basic model and you'll see that there are certain components. Chanting is always a great way to begin. Pranayama is always helpful to sort of move us from an outward place to an inward place. Chanting Om is just by itself sort of covers a lot of territory. Affirmations can be practiced at the beginning. I've been focused a lot on this matter of spiritual progress. I picked up a friend at the airport last night, and she and I have known each other for decades. But we've never really spent a lot of personal time together. But nonetheless, when I picked her up at the airport, she got in, and we would be comfortable in silence, but we were also enjoying having a chance just to connect. And she asked me a very blunt and simple question: are you happy? She asked me, are you happy? And it made me pause. Because I could not honestly say that, happiness wasn't the first thing that came to mind. What I felt within myself was I'm at peace. But there's just so much that's going on that it works. It takes work on a daily basis and moment by moment to actually choose happiness. So, I don't think about happiness necessarily as something spontaneous or inherently just available. I have to work for it, and I think that's true for many of us. If you think about the conditions of the world around us, it requires a conscious shift away from the outer turmoil and reestablishing a place of personal happiness. So sadhana really, really is important, and don't shortchange what you're capable of. Each of us is capable of building our own sadhana, of having our own practice, and it's not about how long that practice is, it's rather how regular it is. And so any meditation is better than none, any chanting is better than none, any prayer is better than none. And so if your sadhana ends up being composed of these individual units, and your sadhana is 20 minutes, and it's a good 20 minutes, take it. That's beautiful. We will naturally find ourselves moving into the direction of longer meditation because it becomes attractive. It builds a magnetism. And that magnetism is not one that necessarily is outwardly bubbly or outwardly indicative of happiness, but sadhana will create a steady level within us of those things that are true to our nature. So joy, peace, the ability to see light or hear that sound of Om. So these are all things that are going to naturally come to us because they are ours by right. But happiness, we have to choose. For those of you who have not seen it, I encourage you to find the movie, the Ananda movie, or the movie about Ananda, Finding Happiness. It will, I think you will find it of value. So let's go ahead and begin, and we'll just do a little bit of chanting. Just, you are in your own space. Use your voice with gusto, that really put your energy into it. You can make your chanting of Om louder and softer. That variation oftentimes is, sometimes you find this middle point. making sure that your seat is stable and that you're comfortable enough as you hold this pose. We'll be here for 2 or 3 minutes, so make sure your body's completely at ease. Never hesitate, by the way, to bring out a chair, because almost everything that we do in our sadhana could be practiced from a chair or standing as well. Let's go ahead and begin to guide the breath in a pattern. There's a basic principle of energy rising through us, which is related to the quality of coolness. And on the exhaling breath, a quality of warmth. So if you will right now turn your attention to the end of your nasal passages, inhale, you'll notice that you can, if you pay attention, feel the coolness rising. As you exhale, warmth receding. So you feel the breath coming in to be cool, going out to be warm. And we're not thinking the words cool and warm. I'm saying them only because of my particular role that we're in right now. But just notice that you don't need the word to perceive coolness as the inhaling breath enters, warmth as the exhaling breath leaves, and of course there is then the stillness, the pause. So we have turned the spotlight of our mind to this inward practice. We can take that quality of coolness and warmth and transition into the core of our body, so that as we inhale, moving from pelvic floor to the front part of our brain, we are transferring the feeling, the experience of coolness, moving inward and upward, and warmth as we follow that same pathway downward again. So cool, energy, prana rising, warm, prana on the exhale breath moving down to the root chakra. We don't need to focus so perfectly on the chakras, though sometimes we do. For right now, just feel that general coolness and warmth. We are built in such a way that what we're doing with our mind can be transitioned into the realm of energy and spirit. So if the mind thinks of intense cold, ice, for example, that thought of the ice will tend to create an experience of coolness as you rise. The warmth of the sun as you exhale, that sunny, warm feeling as you exhale back down. Remembering always to allow the pauses to express themselves through you, because it is in that stillness that a doorway begins to open. And this practice is one that many of you will remember is called pratyahara. It's just the turning of one's sensory awareness from an outer place to an inner place. When we have successfully turned our energies and attention inward, that's when meditation proper can begin. So it is here we oftentimes will use a mantra. And so the mantra meditation technique of Hong Sa is a natural evolution to what we've done. And so whenever the breath is moving, there is a vibration in the mind that, if expressed in a word, would be the word Hong as you inhale and Sa as you exhale. don't feel that the word is the mantra. The mantra is the vibration. The word is simply the best effort that we make to bring that experience of cool energy rising, warm energy receding. We're trying to magnify it, and to express it and share it, we have to use spoken language or written language. But when we actually practice Hong Sa, we are not saying the word. It is being felt, like the coolness and warmth. The simple mantra and the simple practice of bringing the energy and the sense of coolness and warmth inward puts us in a place very much like being on the edge of a diving board where you are poised, ready to dive in, but there's that moment before you take off where you feel that lightness, but you've not yet dived into the water itself. You're poised there. And so each pause brings us to that moment. And in that moment, some magic can begin to happen for us. Leave the body behind, all the material world and all of its distressing realities. These are not our realities. They're not permanent. But this moment of poise within. In these moments, we are able to tune in more easily to the quality of light, Jyoti, and sound, Om. So it's always in these pauses when, at least for me, I tend to have the experience of light and sound. Now, as we begin to move into the rest of our practice, let's take this quality of discrimination and carry it with us throughout our practice. So taking a quality for the week that you begin to pay attention to. And here it is, the quality of discrimination. Yogananda writes, and this is from the Law of Success. Yogananda writes, "Don't mentally review any problem constantly. Let it rest at times, and it may work itself out. But see that you do not rest so long that your discrimination is lost. Rather, use these periods of rest to go deep within the calm regions of your inner self," with a capital S on self. And again, remaining inwardly focused, see if you can absorb this practice of discrimination in these words from Swami Kriyananda. As science judges the relative speed of any object by one constant, the speed of light, so the devotee judges the relative merit of any idea by the one constant, God. Discrimination is clear only when it relates everything to the eternal absolute. Eternal and absolute there are capitalized. Thus, while the intelligence may toy with ideas endlessly, discrimination asks, is this wisdom? Is it of God? One could also say, is it permanent? Is it true? True discrimination is not even the product of reasoning, it is soul intuition. Reasoning, even from the highest point of reference, is uncertain compared to the inspirations of superconsciousness. To discriminate clearly, meditate first. Ask God to guide your understanding. So let's see if we can take our inner experience and translate it into a physical practice. Hatha yoga to me is like the most practical branch of yoga because it addresses us in the way that we oftentimes perceive who we are, the physical form, and gives us a pathway to move from physical to energy to mental to feeling and then to direct experience of self with a capital S. So Hatha yoga is just a marvelous practice that we can take into daily life because we are always, wherever we go in this world, so long as we are on this planet, that we will have a physical body. And so it is that as we use Hatha yoga, it is to learn to find our way back to spirit through the physical form that we're in. When I say spirit, find our way back to Atman, A-T-M-A-N, or self with a capital S. And so as you're seated, let your breath guide you first in these movements of lifting arms and hands up and lowering the arms and hands down. You can let your chin travel as well. Here again is a simple example that as we move the body, we are also moving energy through the chakras. So bringing the chin down, putting your attention on the pelvic floor. Inhale and feel that coolness rising. Exhale, feel the warmth receding. Feel the pause in which you can experience the practice of being. So we're intermingling doing, inhaling, lifting arms up, opening the throat and all the chakras wide. That's doing. As we exhale, bringing the hands down, chin to the chest, and pausing, there we are being. It reminds me of Yogananda's simple teaching on how to live. And he said, be calmly active and actively calm. So as we inhale, we are calmly active. As we exhale, calmly active. And as we pause, actively calm. Good. Let's go ahead and bring ourselves back to a neutral position. We'll do a little bit of side stretching, right hand beside us. Inhaling, left arm up. And exhale, left arm down. Inhale, right arm up. Exhale, right arm down. Please continue and let your own breath lead the way. And remember the pauses. So here we are in the midst of this, sort of prescribed range of motion, but we're still incorporating doing. Here we are in the pause, and being. And we discriminate between the two. So this act of discrimination can begin in an outward physical form, discriminating the breath, inhaling, exhaling, or pausing. But in the end, discrimination becomes an inner practice where we work with intuition. And our intuition is much more reliable than our mental reasoning process. Let's go ahead and make our way onto our back. And come into constructive rest position. Have your strap nearby. Heels in line with your sit bones. Your knees could have a block between them, but not necessary. I'm going to walk my shoulder blades towards my heels, and that will automatically arch the back up. I like this because it gives me a greater sense of range of motion. So pressing the lower back flat, my tailbone can go up quite a ways. Inhaling, arching the lower back up. And so repeat this process as you exhale, flattening the curve of the spine into the floor. Now, our spine is not a natural lever, but we oftentimes use it as one. So the fulcrum for that lever oftentimes ends up being in the sacral region, in the SI joint. And so exploring this range of motion is helpful at strengthening that point from which a lot of movement takes place. Forward bending, backward bending, for example. Please feel free to bring your hand to your heart anytime and begin to crunch, exhaling, and inhaling. So the basic pelvic tilt is still there, but we're also beginning to practice Tapasya. Those of you who are in yoga in the 12 steps know that in the last class we paired up step 6 in the 12 steps. We're ready to have our faults, our deficiencies removed. And that oftentimes is not comfortable. Sometimes it is even painful, but when we know how, that discomfort becomes fuel. So in our Hatha Yoga practice, if you hold a crunch, is it challenging? Is it comfortable? No. But does it have value? It does when I choose to make it so. Good, let's come back. But again, that ability to discriminate needs to be exercised. When is it too much? When have I quit too soon? Let's go ahead and do a simple twist here, extending the arms out. Let's bring our legs together. And you don't need to shift the hips at this point. You can simply do a gentle twist side to side. You might choose to keep the knees together or let them travel separately for a while. But just let your breath lead the way. So again, breath is leading the body. Body is following the breath. Where's the pause? On the exhale breath? Definitely. Maybe at the inhaled breath, but not a lot's going on there. So let's exhale into the twist and pause. Beautiful. Let's come back to neutral. Let's go ahead and bring our knees into our chest. There's a lot going on in this simple pose. So this is Apanasana. And I say there's a lot going on because if you lift your head off the floor, bring your nose towards your knees, you're engaged in a forward bend. But if you leave the head to the floor, pull the knees a little bit more dynamically into the belly and breathe, that becomes pranayama. You're forcing the energy out of this navel center and forcing it up here, higher up. So pranayama is that movement of energy using willpower, and in this case, our physical body as well. Again, the beauty of Hatha Yoga. Let's lower our feet to the floor. Bring our strap into play. Let's give a good stretch to the back of the legs. So pushing through the left heel, drawing that left leg to the end point. I encourage you to keep the right leg active by pulling the right toes towards the right knee, pressing the right leg into the floor. I did not ask for an affirmation, but one began to appear in my mind, so I'm going with it, which is left and right and all around me. Life's harmonies are mine. Left and right and all around me. Life's harmonies are mine. As we exhale, we can bend the left knee, slip the right foot into the strap, and straighten the left leg out along the floor. So we're repeating this, but on the second side. The idea of tapasya and discriminating what is too much, what is not enough, again, is a practice to be taken into the moment. So as I exhale, drawing the right leg towards me, I increase the resistance, but not so much that it's painful. Good. Let's go ahead and exhale and bend that right knee. We're going to come into our figure 4 stretch. Left ankle over right knee. Pressing the left knee away. I encourage you to press your sacrum down. I will create a really clearly identifiable stretch in the left hip. Identify that stretch. Find the center of resistance and breathe into it. It's like blowing up a tight balloon. If you blow up a very tight balloon, let the air out and repeat. Every time you repeat it, the resistance will be a little bit less. And so here we are breathing into the left hip, and every time we exhale, some resistance is released. And on exhalation, you can come back to constructive rest position, pause and feel. Such an important, simple practice. Pause and feel. That's where discrimination takes place in the midst of daily life. When we consciously choose to pause and turn our attention inward and feel, how am I? How am I doing? And in that moment, as my friend asked last night, are you happy? And the choice is there. Happiness is something we choose. Choosing happiness. Let's cross right ankle over left knee. So pressing the right knee away, pressing sacrum down, finding an appropriate level of resistance and beginning to diminish that resistance to create space. There is going to be within our practice and within our lives a continuous value in using your will to choose happiness and to create space. Sometimes the space is in your heart, sometimes it's in your mind, but in the end it's always about expanding who we are, creating space. Good. Inhaling one more time. As we exhale, let's go ahead and we're going to come into Ananda Balanasana. So reach out, wrap your fingers around the outside of your feet. If you can't grab your feet, you could grab ankles. And as you press your sacrum down, pull your knees towards the floor, and you'll create a level of dynamic tension. Feel free to rock a little bit if you like. But again, we're breathing into the resistance. We're discriminating what is too much and what is not enough. So if you find, well, maybe I could pull a little bit more. There I feel it. That's right. I can breathe into that and create space. It's not too much. It's not too little. Good, let's release. I'll leave it up to you. How do you want to come up to your seat? All right, let's go ahead and either roll to the side or rock forward and back. Let's come up onto our seat. Let's do a little bit of pranayama. If you will take a full inhaling breath and pause, and with the breath retained, you can begin to exhale about halfway and then inhale again. So this is Kapalabhati. And if you will inhale, as you exhale, sharply pull the belly button to the backbone. So you're exhaling through the nose, inhaling, the lungs will refill automatically. You don't need to make anything happen. So just every time you relax, an inhaling breath will enter, and you forcefully exhale about half of it, sharply pulling the belly button back. Don't worry about the rhythm right now, just practice it on your own. Excuse me just a moment, my computer did something, I'm not sure why. So there are magic numbers in yoga. I say magic only in the sense that they are, they have a particular value. Things tend to happen in threes, or multiples of 3. In this case, we do 12. 12 is also one of those numbers. When, for those of you who know about Kriya Yoga is practiced in rounds of 12. You could do Hong Sa in rounds of 12 and find value in it as well. So let's go ahead and practice 12 times, and I will clap on the exhalation. So go ahead and make sure your posture is good. Inhale all the way, and let's exhale. Now let the breath flow naturally and freely while you are completely relaxed. You know, the physicists will always see breathing as a matter of pressure, higher pressure in or out of the lungs. And so the breath either is going to inhale or exhale. And I sometimes I understand that, but there's something else going on. In meditation this morning, I was sitting there, and whenever my breath would enter, I just tried to tune in to this was God, Divine Mother, breathing through me on the inhalation and exhalation. So that's the energy we're working with. It's Divine Mother present as breath. That's why it's so powerful. Let's go ahead and inhale. And here we go with Kapalabhati. That feels, you know, I hope you can feel it's a very brightening sort of energy. So if you feel anything happening up here, allow that to be there. Notice it, enjoy it. We're going to do 2 rounds of 24, and then we'll go ahead and just pause, move into our full Hatha Yoga practice. So let's go ahead and again make sure that we're comfortable, hands upturned. If you're going to use a mudra, you could. But we will inhale and begin. Now become an observer to this flow of divine energy that's in constant movement through us. Our very presence in these bodies is dependent upon that divine flow of energy. If that energy is removed, the body ceases to be alive. So long as that life force is there, all the miracles of the physical body can take place. Cellular respiration, for example. Red blood cell reproduction. These are all miraculous. But if the life force is removed, all those things cease. Let's go ahead and inhale, and 24 counts. So inhale. If you would like a mantra or an affirmation in this moment, I set ablaze the fire of inner joy. Just as we blow on an ember to coax it into a flame, so we use the breath as a way of coaxing the ember of our spiritual self-awareness to bring it into a flame. I set ablaze the fire of inner joy. Let's go ahead and come on to our hands and knees. And let's go ahead and turn toes under. Remember, everything can be modified. So as we exhale in the cat and inhale in the cow, you can use your discrimination to coax the spine into length at all times. So as you exhale in the cat, your spine is lengthening. Inhale in the cow, backward bend, spine is lengthened. This discrimination comes into play, by the way, when you notice that you have forgotten. And that's a big one. To notice when you have forgotten or when you have become entrapped or enmeshed in the outer world. Good. Now, let's go ahead and inhale and lower our heart and chin down. Keep your elbows close. Exhale up and back and stretch. Good. Coming back to tabletop position. Let's inhale, coming into plank. Exhale, down dog. Now I just press my heels to the floor. Inhale, heels come up. I come back to plank. Exhale, hips go up, heels press down, downward dog. I invite you to add one more segment to this flow, which is to exhale into down dog, inhale into a prone position, exhale pushing up and back. So I'm still using a single breath, inhaling down, exhaling up and back. It may be that you'll want to use your knees to make this possible, but try to treat it as a flow. Challenge yourself, but use your discrimination to determine what is too much and what is enough. Find your way into plank. Let's lower knees down. And we'll come into Vajrasana. Right big toe crosses over left. We sit on our heels. Hands are placed so the palm up, back of the right hand, palm of the left, and thumbs touching. In stillness, I touch my inner strength. So this is a time to go right back to that coolness and warmth. So feel the coolness and warmth in the nasal passages first. And I usually find it best on an exhaling breath to transition to the energy spine. So on a warm exhale breath through the nose, my mind will be transferring that warmth to the downward movement of my awareness all the way down to the pelvic floor. The coolness of the inhaled breath through the nasal passages, I transfer to the inhaling breath, the energy rising inward and upward. If this seems odd to you at all, it really isn't, because what we are looking at within ourselves is light, and we oftentimes describe light, even in the outer world, in terms of cool light or warm light. So cool light rising, warm light receding. In stillness, I touch my inner strength. Good. So, short interlude just to prepare us for coming up, and let's go ahead and do that now. So we'll make our way up to standing. Just a couple more basic warm-ups here. So coming into standing mountain pose, we can go ahead, of course, and begin with Durga Pranayama. So keep the weight balanced to the front of your feet. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, down. And here, discrimination definitely has a role to play. I mentioned that our spine is not a natural lever, but in our yoga practice, we oftentimes treat it as such. By keeping the spine neutral and lengthened, we are folding from the hip sockets. And so, treating the spine like a lever has some value in terms of protecting the lower back. You can strengthen the fulcrum, that is this area down here, by tensing the pelvic floor, drawing the belly button back. But if you're okay with it, you can also round the spine and let it be more like a rope. And a wave travels down to your head. A wave travels from the head down to the hips. Good. Let's go ahead and sweep arms around us and bring them up into our heart. Let's go ahead and do a little bit of double breathing. Double breath in, double breath out, bend your knees. So there's a lot going on here. Some of it is pranayama, but some of it is also just physical, preparing the legs for chair pose, for example. So inhale, exhale. Good. Let's go ahead now and come into a circle of joy. So bring hands to your heart. Inhale, interlace. Exhale, push palms away. Use your natural ability to create an image that you are then going to feel as a reality. All right, so light extended from my heart through my hands. Wherever my hands travel, light goes with me. There's light in front of me and above me. Light above and around me, connecting hands behind, squeeze shoulder blades together. And exhaling, hands back, offering the light, bring hands back to the heart. You know, many of you will know what an arati is. An arati is simply taking a lighted candle and offering that light back to the source of the light itself. And so we oftentimes do it at the altar. But that's what we're doing here. It's an arati. So we inhale, exhale, spread light to the front. Inhale, light up. Exhale, light around and behind. Connect the light behind you. And as we exhale, we separate the hands, turn palms up, and offer the light back in the altar of our heart, is where this arati is taking place. Good. Let's lower our hands down to our side. Let's take a moment of being. So for me, it oftentimes takes a breath or two, but then I'm able to settle into Tadasana, where if I put it into words what I'm doing, it comes out, I stand ready to obey thy least command. I stand ready to obey thy least command. Good, let's go ahead and now come into chair pose proper. So your toes are spread wide, feet are parallel, weight to the front of the feet, and I'll turn sideways. We'll inhale, arms up, put your heels off the floor, retain your breath, settle into chair pose. So this is about working with energy more dynamically. Dynamically meaning that we are a little bit more actively involved. So the legs are active, the energy is compressed but available. We inhale it into the heart and send it out to the hands. So we are becoming, and there's a number of poses and affirmations where we consciously identify ourselves as a channel, a conduit, and where we are consciously and intentionally moving beyond the appearance of a physical reality. So yes, I'm in a body, but my body is no burden. It is light as air. My body is no burden. It is light as air. Inhale, hands down, sweep arms up, turn palms away, and exhale, arms down. We're about ready to come into Garudasana. So I sometimes find it helpful in Garudasana to begin as if I'm going to go into half moon pose, bringing my feet together. And what happens is then, when I cross my right foot over, my left foot is more centered. So if I bend that left knee, I have a good foundation in only one foot, but it's more centered rather than off to the side. So then cross the right foot over. Let's bring our left arm up and bring it in. Now bring the right arm under, and perhaps you can get your fingers together. If you can't, you can bring one hand to the opposite shoulder, the other arm behind, and you get a really good control. But your right palm is still facing to your left. Can you find that center pathway? In the midst of balancing on one foot, being all twisted up. Such a perfect metaphor for what happens in daily life when we lose our center. When we lose our ability to discriminate between what is permanent and what is not. And so that discrimination is oftentimes the tool or the practice that reminds us, that notices I've forgotten. And so, at the center of life's storms, I stand serene. Pratyahara, pull your energy back inward. Find your center in the midst of activity. So inhale, left knee straight. Exhale, unwind. Bring feet side by side. At the center of life's storms, I stand serene. I stand ready to obey thy least command. You know, that affirmation for Tadasana, when we really understand it, is perfect. All of you know that I sometimes will amend it or change it. I stand ready with my heart wide open to receive your divine guidance in my life. And that's great. I mean, it's fine. But I stand ready to obey thy least command. There's something more powerful in that it says, I am going to communicate with my highest self. Directly. Not indirectly, but I'm going to go right to it. And whatever that highest self says, I'm going to do. Because it will always be for my greater good. Shifting weight to the right foot, and again, bring your feet center if you like. Left foot crossing over. Right knee softens. This time it's going to be the right arm coming up, left arm under. At the center of life's storms, I stand serene. At the center of life's storms, I stand serene. Good. Inhale, the right arm or right knee straight. Exhale, unwind. Come back to Tadasana. I invite you to use these affirmations on your own. At the center of life's storms, I stand serene. I stand ready to obey thy least command. Now let's go ahead and come into a wide-legged standing forward bend. So if you want a block, you could have it. I would suggest that maybe going a little bit wider than you might normally think about going might be good. But then check your feet for evenness. And remember again, here we are using our spine as a lever. But we're also supporting the part of that lever that is at the fulcrum. So come down. Now you might reach back with your fingertips. Feel your sit bones. Those are points of attachment for certain muscles. And if you massage them, it may actually release a little bit of tension. So that when you're ready to come all the way down, your muscles have already been relaxed. Let's bring elbows and hands together. Bend your knees a little bit, but not too much. And just surrender into the pull of gravity. So I relax and cast aside all mental burdens. That points us in the direction of being rather than doing. And it's our discrimination that says, have I forgotten? Am I capable in this moment of being? I relax and cast aside all mental burdens. I relax and cast aside all mental burdens. Now let's go ahead and bend our knees, but keep the feet actively pushing down and apart. That movement will require the muscles in your legs to become dynamically engaged. And they'll support the knees. So you might even go side to side. And I see some of you are actually doing that, which is great. There's a certain amount of tension around the base of the spine in the area of the hips and inner thighs, that when that energy is released, it will naturally be fed into that root chakra, moving upward from that place where you end up feeling grounded, but you are aware of energy rising. So let's go ahead and make our way up. Bring our feet back and together, and let's see if we can feel in Tadasana that energy rising from this lower first chakra region, legs and inner thighs and pelvic floor. The affirmations may be a good tool, but they are not necessary to be used continuously. But if they are, they oftentimes are a way of just keeping your mind moving smoothly. I just had the image of a bowling ball going down the alley, and of that bowling ball of your mind being centered to hit that first pin rather than going off to either side too far. So I relax and cast aside all mental burdens. I stand ready to obey thy least command. So we're going to come into both warrior poses, warrior 1 and warrior 2. You come here to the end of your mat and step the left foot back. Take a moment and really find what's going to work for you. So for me, I'm going to walk my right foot forward a little more and then pivot onto the ball of the left foot. So as we are here, we can sweep arms up, bring palms together, point index fingers up, and press the left heel back. Again, a good stretch in the legs and the inner left thigh, but also weight bearing in the front leg. I attune my will to the source of all power. I attune my will to the source of all power. When I speak of being, that is what being is. We don't have to work or strive or attain. We can simply be in our natural condition. I attune my will to the source of all power. Inhale, right knee straight. Exhale, arms down, left foot forward, and here we are in Tadasana. So, taking the affirmations to an inward place, I attune my will to the source of all power. I stand ready to obey thy least command. So now, stepping back to your right foot, and again, give yourself time to adjust. Onto that front knee. Check to make sure that your lower back is happy. Inhale, sweep arms up, bring palms together. I attune my will to the source of all power. I attune my will to the source of all power. Good. Inhale, front knee straight. Exhale, arms down. You can pivot back to center and then walk your feet together. Actually always feels good to me to do it that way. And here we are in Tadasana once again. So this is your practice. Go ahead and take a moment and just experience what you've done so far. Here is a little bit of the magic again for me. The energy that you are feeling is the same energy that I am feeling. We don't have your energy or my energy, your prana or mine. It is not your personal experience, but rather a universal reality that we are all fueled from the same source. I stand ready to obey any command from that one source. It will always be for my highest good. So warrior 2. Separating feet wide apart. Rotating your right foot out. All of you know this pose well. One of the values of knowing a pose well, knowing the mechanics of it. Are my feet aligned? Are my feet rotated properly? Is my knee lunging in the direction of the second toe? All these mechanical things are great, but in the end, they're only a way of externally beginning for what in the end is an internal practice. So sweeping arms up, turning palms up, exhaling head to the right, and begin that inner practice of warrior pose. The world demands, if we are to be spiritual warriors, that our hearts be open, receptive, and completely able to be filled and emptied over and over. So as you inhale, fill your heart. Feel your heart expand. As you exhale, empty that heart light into the right hand so that you're in this process of filling and emptying continuously. I joyfully manifest the power of God. I joyfully manifest the power of God. Now, after I've been here a bit more, and my discrimination is saying, let's not exit this pose quite yet. So what I'm finding is now I can come into almost like a second version of the pose. Walk the right foot out a little more. Bend the right knee a little bit more completely. Don't lean into the pose. Keep your spine neutral. But this second phase is going to bring even more energy, making it available to move through you. You've simply become a more open channel. I joyfully manifest the power of God that flows through me. Good. Inhale the right knee straight. Turn feet forward. Lower arms down and walk your feet back and together. And here's that wonderful shared moment of Divine Mother flowing through us. Same energy flowing through you and through me, because it is the nature of Divine Mother to be omnipresent. And it is our prerogative, once we have the skill, to discriminate between what is divine energy, what is Divine Mother. One could say that all energy is from that source, but am I tuned in? Am I being the best pathway for Divine Mother to flow through me? Let's go ahead and separate feet wide apart again. Here comes warrior 2 to the other side. So left leg, left foot turned to the left, lunging, protecting the knee, inhaling arms up, rotating palms up, and again, become this conduit for Divine Mother to flow through. And be a willing participant. I joyfully manifest the power of God. I joyfully manifest the power of Divine Mother to flow through me. Now, as we did on the other side, you might walk that left foot out more. Deepen the lunge. Feel that you are suspended by a thread from the crown of your head. And so here we are with an even more abundant flow of energy. And when this energy flows through us, the experience, when we put it into a word, is joy. I joyfully manifest the power of God. Good. Inhale the left knee straight. Exhale, feet forward, arms down, come back, and then do Tadasana. One could make a case that Tadasana is perhaps the most important standing posture. Whereas in a public place, you might look odd doing all the other yoga postures we've done. But just to stand there Oh, hey, people are standing around all the time. But the difference is, what am I doing as I stand? Again, that idea about being at the edge of a diving board, that moment where you have pushed down and it feels for a moment you're weightless. We pause, poised in that moment. Good, let's go ahead and come into extended side angle pose. One of the things that Yogananda taught is that he described us as being a bundle of self-definitions. Right? I am a wife, I am a husband, I am a father, I am a mother, I am whatever work you do, I am all these things. I love this, I don't like that. So a bundle of self-definitions. So in our practice of yoga, through attunement to the Divine Mother flowing through us, what we find is that we can become a more perfect channel and identify ourselves in relationship to Divine Mother. So separating the feet wide apart, rotating the right foot out, lunging through the right knee. So you'll see that this is the same setup for Warrior 2, but now we're going to come right palm upturned, left arm up and over. So here's another self-definition. I am a fountain of boundless energy and power. I'm a fountain of boundless energy and power. Now, I would normally at this point, if I had 360 degrees range of motion, if we were in a live class or an in-person class, I would say, let's bring our left hand down to the inner part of the right foot and rotate onto the ball of the left foot. So we're going to come into a lunge. We can step into plank pose, exhale into down dog. Now you can probably do this right where you are. Because I'm in front of the camera, I can't. But I'll do it and then adjust. So from down dog, we can practice being. When we are successfully in a state of being rather than doing, this affirmation makes perfect sense. Calmness radiates from every fiber of my being. That is a description of being actively calm. Calmness radiates from every fiber of my being. Now we can step the left foot forward. And now we can come up and we would be ready, if my backward to you, to come into extended side angle pose on this side. So where you are, you can. I'm going to go ahead and turn around. Left elbow onto left thigh. Inhale, right arm up and over. I like to turn my gaze up, at least briefly. Or close your eyes if you're steady enough. I am a fountain of boundless energy and power. I'm a fountain of boundless energy and power. Good. Now we're going to go ahead and make our way down into that high lunge. Inhale, plank. Exhale, down dog. So we're going to go ahead at this point. If you'll come onto your pillow, we're going to practice this bound angle pose. Some of you will have seen, Kathleen, you certainly will have, that there is a way to practice this pose and actually take a strap around the legs around the feet, and you end up with a handle, and you deepen the pose as you pull onto the strap. So you literally bind your body into that shape. Of course, we don't need to do the strap part, but we can grab our feet or ankles, and as you lengthen the spine, press your legs into the earth. Now this is a pose that can be done with the spine completely neutral, as we are right now, or that we can fold forward again from the hips and round the spine if that's okay for you. So you could tip forward with spine neutral, or you can tip forward and then round the spine, chin to the chest. Secure in myself, I accept whatever is. Secure in myself, I accept whatever is. The ultimate discrimination, by the way, in daily practice for me, is when I remember that I am Atman, I am spirit, as opposed to I am a body that is comfortable or not comfortable, hungry or not hungry, at ease or not. So whatever happens around us, at least in theory, it's not always true in practice, but we can build strength and get better at this. It's like my friend asking, are you happy? Well, I'm not happy unless I choose happiness. Secure in myself, I accept whatever is. We will inhale up. And let's go ahead and just straighten our legs out into Dandasana. Let's do a seated twist before we come into a shoulder stand. So let's leave our right leg straight, plant the left foot on the outside of the right leg. And honestly, it doesn't matter how you connect to your left bent leg. In other words, what I'm saying is you can go ahead and just use your right hand, lengthen the spine, bring the left hand behind you, and look over your left shoulder. That's pretty doable. I can go under my leg, and that works pretty well. Or you can bring your right elbow to the outside of the left thigh and use that leverage to bring you into the twist. With your heart open and literally radiating energy, radii of energy, one straight line after the other to form a circle, and your heart is radiating love. I radiate love and goodwill to soul friends everywhere. Inhaling back to center, Dandasana. Turn your attention back in. I encourage you to bring your awareness into the heart center. So between the two sides, I radiate love and goodwill to soul friends everywhere. Putting the right foot on the outside of the left thigh. And again, lengthen, rotate as if around an axis, but keep the spine lengthened. No backward bending. Don't let the shoulders creep up around your ears. Relax your shoulders down, but feel the crown of your head as if it's going to touch the ceiling. I radiate love and goodwill to soul friends everywhere. Good, let's inhale back to center. And now we're going to go ahead and make our way down and onto our back in the constructive rest position. Okay, I want to invite you to make sure that you're doing what will work for you. So if you come into bridge pose, which is, it translates well on Zoom. to go ahead and do bridge. But don't hesitate, as long as your body is okay with it, don't hesitate to come into a simple inverted pose. All of you know bridge. Simple inverted pose is just a little bit more challenging. So if you come here, constructed rest position, you're going to position the hands on either side of the sacrum. Your elbows are going to be supporting your weight and your shoulder blades, not your neck or head. So if you press down, position the hands on either side of the sacrum, but my head and my neck are not bearing weight. I'm looking straight up at my toes above me. Divine peace now floods my being. Divine peace now floods my being. If you're going to do a simple inverted pose, try not to collapse out of it. And then come down and into Shavasana. Make any final adjustments you need to. Perhaps moving the hips around just a little, walking the shoulders a little bit closer together, just to really open the heart center. I encourage you to take a few sort of initial scans, just scanning the whole body. Feet to crown of the head, feet to crown of the head, feet to the crown of the head. Do it a few times, then in time settle at the point between the eyebrows and let your whole body melt into the earth. If you can let the body relax completely, the natural tendency of you, your energy body, call it your soul body, is going to be to expand, no longer limited by the physical form. So in Shavasana, it is about expansion. Divine Mother is breathing through us. I can discriminate what is my will and always offer back to divine will. But I have to notice, oh, my ego is, for a moment there I forgot. My ego took over. But now I can relax and open to this flow of divine life within me. There's again a little bit of magic that takes place because we usually use the breath as an indicator of divine energy flowing. But that divine energy is not tethered to the breath. You may exhale and have an extended pause. I encourage you to stay in Shavasana, in that physical posture. I encourage you to continue to keep the physical body as completely relaxed as you can. As you stay in Shavasana, as just a whisper this affirmation through your mind, but leaving the body completely relaxed. For all intents and purposes, the body is gone. It's simply you, your awareness. And I invite you to whisper this affirmation. Resolutely, I quell my inclinations, that my mind be open to the wisdom guidance of my soul. We'll practice this 2 more times, then we'll make our way up to our seat. But for right now, just stay where you are, and once again, maybe with a little bit louder voice. Resolutely, I quell my inclinations, that my mind be open to the wisdom guidance of my soul. Now, last time before we transition to a seat. Resolutely, I quell my inclinations, that my mind be open to the wisdom guidance of my soul. Now, please carefully and consciously make your way up to your seat, whether it's kneeling or cross-legged or in a chair. And we're going to do it in reverse. We're going to begin loudly and take it back into a whisper. It's also a great practice to feel as if the voice is emanating, not up here in your mind, but here in your heart, or here at the throat chakra, or here at the spiritual eye. So loudly and clearly, resolutely, I quell my inclinations, that my body be open to the wisdom guidance of my soul. I said my body. All right, turn the volume down. Resolutely, I quell my inclinations, that my mind be open to the wisdom guidance of my soul. And now in a whisper, so we're planting this deeply. Resolutely, I quell my inclinations, that my mind be open to the wisdom guidance of my soul. Let's go ahead and end our practice by chanting Om together. So, my sadhana has increasingly, more and more of my sadhana, my personal meditation practice, really ends up being focused on prayer, healing prayers. So in fact, let's go ahead and do a healing prayer, and then we'll end by chanting Om. So this is a great time to bring to mind, to feel in your heart, those that you would like to pray for. My friend and I last night were just marveling at the increasing pace of people leaving us, the number of people who are leaving their body, moving on. This incarnation is done for them. And it can feel like, wow, this is like, they're dropping like flies, And so if you have people in your life who are suffering in any way, and the healing prayer is oftentimes the best thing that we can do to support them. So if you know someone who is unwell or struggling, challenged financially, whatever it might be, but let's pray for them. Divine Mother, Thou art omnipresent. Thou art in all Thy children. Thou art in, and name the people that you want to pray for. Divine Mother, Thou art omnipresent. Thou art in all Thy children. Thou art in us. manifest thy healing presence in these bodies, minds, and souls. Now rubbing hands together. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Namaste.